Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm Chris Bianchi, now joined by Kelly Moye with the Colorado Association of Realtors and a realtor with Compass as well. Kelly is going to take a look at us with a look at the housing market in Denver and across the state. And we want to kind of delve in on several real estate related topics here today. So Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here for a look at real estate.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So I guess the first question that I've gotten, I think, is pretty prevalent on a lot of people's minds. The real estate market obviously has been so hot for so long. Where does the housing market stand right now?
Well, the housing market it's been a freight train for the last 18 to 20 months, sort of in an unsustainable space where we have appreciated, 20 to 25% each year over the last 2 years, which is something that clearly cannot continue. Our wages are not growing as quickly as our home prices. So it is making it incredible unaffordable for people to live here. So we knew that a change would be coming. And I actually think the interest rate hikes that have already happened and that are proposed to happen throughout the year will be probably the change that we are expecting.
And with that in mind, those rising mortgage rates, my understanding, again, feel free to clarify me on this, is that they're rising to around 5%. Are those mortgage rates, A, is it about 5%, and B,
It is.
okay, great, glad to hear that. And are those, in your view, I mean, it sounds like they're starting to potentially affect the housing market a little bit?
Yeah, I would think what you say is accurate. So we started the year in the high threes when it came to interest rates and kind of quickly moved to 4.25. And now we are at 5 or a little bit over 5. And in such a short amount of time, I mean, truly that really affects buyers' purchasing power. So for example, if an interest rate goes up a full point, say from 4 to 5%, it actually affects your buying power by 10%. So if you are pre-approved to buy a house at 600, now at 5%, you're at 540. And when you're having to offer so much more than the list price in order to win the house, now your purchase price is even lower than you thought. So getting what you wanted to originally might require some change in expectations. So it is absolutely affecting the market. It's doing what it is intended to do, which is slow everything down.
And with that in mind, new report, and you kind of mentioned at the start that the increase over the last 18 to 24 months in terms of housing prices hasn't kept up with wage growth. And a new report this week ranked Denver in the bottom 5 least affordable metro areas in the entire country, behind only places like Los Angeles and Miami and a couple other places. How's that happened? And I guess generally speaking, do you mind also clarifying that report and whether or not you agree with it in a sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened, I mean, we've always lived in a very desirable state, from weather to economy and quality of life and education and jobs, et cetera. So Colorado has always been a popular place to live. But during COVID, it actually took a huge turn to an extraordinarily popular place to live, where people from Texas, Chicago, San Francisco, those were the biggest ones, decided to move here. They could work remotely and they want to live here and still work remotely. And Colorado became a real hotspot. Thus, that is how our demand so outweighed our inventory in the last 2 years. And that's how our prices went up so quickly. So what's happening now is you still have the demand for people to want to live in Colorado, but now the affordability is such a challenge that it is forcing people to decide whether they can live here or somewhere else and what they will do about it. Then you add on top of that an interest rate hike, which takes their purchasing power down. And now it slows down because you just literally have people who cannot afford to live here anymore.
Well, I guess the affordability component, Denver single family detached homes, my understanding is that the average price for a single family detached home is slightly under $800,000 in Denver proper. Do you anticipate that number to continue to rise? And if so, what numbers could we be looking at here over the next few months?
Well, I am psychic, so I will tell you what I think. But actually, I really do have kind of an idea. So right now, our average sales price is around 800. Our median sales price is a little under 700. But the point is that it's gone up a lot in the last couple of years. And so I don't think that we'll be looking at another 20% this year. I don't even think we'll necessarily be looking at another double digits this year, because the interest rates are really going to keep things at bay, which is exactly what they're designed to do. And we're already starting to see that. We're seeing fewer showings on our listings each weekend. We are seeing houses not sell in a weekend all of a sudden. We're seeing bidding wars, but instead of 10, maybe 2 or 3. So things are definitely kind of calming down a little bit. And so I think what we're going to see is we're still in a seller's market. We're still in a great real estate market. Prices will continue to go up, but I think that they will go up at a much slower rate and probably end up under double digits at the end of the year, which is still an unbelievable market for a seller to be in. And it's a good time for a buyer to get in before the rates keep going up. So it's not gloom and doom, that's for sure, but it is something that is changing, and we can all feel the change here on the street.
I guess that kind of led me to my next question is, if you're a buyer who's been kind of priced out of the recent surges, or somebody who's been kind of frustrated with those spikes and those bidding wars, what's your advice? Is it to wait a little bit for potentially some of those prices to come down, or to go now because of those rising mortgage rates that you were talking about?
Yeah, well, that's a really good question, because both. I mean, it's actually getting in on this market as soon as possible is a good idea, because an interest rate stays with you for 30 years. And the lower that it is, the more affordable that house is going to be for you over time. So even it costs you a little bit more to get into it because you're in a hot spot, if the rate is lower over all the years that you own the home, it's going to be better for you financially. So waiting is not such a good idea. But I do think it is important to be aware, when you're a buyer, how competitive you have to be. So making sure your realtor explains, hey, look, there aren't 17 offers on this house, there are 3. That might help you adjust what you offer on that home. And so it's just knowledge. Knowledge is power. And get into the market now, but make sure you're aware of what the market's doing.
Absolutely. So I guess some encouraging signs there, as you said, not all doom and gloom, which is somewhat nice to hear. Any final thoughts about the real estate market here in Denver and across the state?
Well, I think it's important to know that, if we start to see a change happening, sometimes we focus so much on it and we think that it's all going downhill. There are no indications of any bubble bursting. There's no bursting here. This is just a natural cause and effect of our economy. And when interest rates rise in order to affect inflation, which is our issue now, it will slow down spending, and that will slow down prices, which honestly is kind of better for everybody, because the last 2 years have been really out of control and they're not sustainable. So I look at this as a really good thing. It's still great for buyers to get in while the interest rates are still pretty good. And 5% is a great interest rate. I mean, if you look historically, 5% is extremely low. So we have to remember that too. And it's a good market for sellers too, to get equity and be able to move up to their next home. So all in all, good market. I just think it's good to be aware that we are anticipating a bit of a slowdown. And so you might anticipate that if you're buying or selling, and just make adjustments accordingly. But otherwise, still a great market, still a great place to live. And all is good.
I was thinking, I was chatting with my mom, and she paid, I think, 15% mortgage interest after buying
Oh
our
yeah,
family home back in the 80s. So, I mean,
it's all relative.
It is all relative. I mean, that's one anecdotal story, but Kelly, you have the real answers. And Kelly Moye, a spokesperson with the Colorado Association of Realtors, we really appreciate a few minutes of your time and kind of clarifying that's kind of what's been a crazy market, but hopefully some of the signs about what you're telling us come to fruition. Maybe things calm down a little bit.
Yeah, I actually think it would be better for everybody, honestly, even sellers. It's been a hard road for everyone over the last couple of years, and this little bit of a breather is maybe just exactly what we all need.
Absolutely. Well, again, Kelly, thank you so much for your time here today on 90s Plus. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.